Hi, everyone. Welcome to College Talk Tuesdays, number 13, registering for classes. Tonight, our agenda is going to consist of registering for classes. We're going to talk about when, where, and how to add and drop classes after you've got started with the term, important dates for registering and adding and dropping your classes. And we're going to talk about registering as a degree partnership if you're in the degree partnership program or if you're a dual enrollment student. And we're going to also talk about degree pathways and how you track your classes. We're going to start with class registration. Some of the things that you'll be doing before you register for classes, and of course, for most of you, especially if you're freshmen and you're entering into fall term this fall, you'll be meeting with your advisors through your START program if you go to OSU. Any other type of summer programming, a lot of universities hold those types of programmings, and they will set you up with your advisor and help you register for classes during that time period. Otherwise, it's going to be up to you to make an appointment with your advisor and get set with your classes that you're going to be registering for before each term. So first off is we'll meet with your advisor. Then we're going to log into our ONID or student account. We'll look under class registrations, and then we'll do holds and reasons that you're not able to register. But first, I'd like to thank Ryan for being here, and he's going to help us out by sharing his student portal so we know exactly what it looks like when you get logged in. Okay, so we're going to go into the scheduling piece for registering for classes. And if you log into your ONID account, and you get to this screen, we're going to go to student, as you see, and then we're going to go to old scheduler, which is right here. Apparently they're creating a new scheduler, so this one's called old for now. So we're just going to go into summer term, which we wouldn't normally go into because that's what we're in right now, but just for the sake of it being easy, we're just going to show you how to register for a summer term class, even though it's already going. So, and you can pick which campus you're on, which is kind of cool. So if you're going to OSU Cascade, you would click this one. If you're at any of the other campuses, you can click those, but we're just going to stick with Corvallis for now. So when you get to this page, normally this piece is not going to show up because Ryan has been gracious enough to let us look at his scheduler. So we got to log into his account, and he's already added in his breaks, which is something that you'll be able to do if you want to do this in schedule. So he's added in when he likes to sleep, when he has work, and all of that. But we're going to just take those off for now. And then that would be something you could add in later. So right now we're going to go to add courses, and we're going to go into subject matter first. So we're going to say we need an anthropology class. So we'll go into anthropology. We're going to go into select the course. We're just going to do an introduction course because most of you will be picking those types of courses anyway. And so we have that one. So we're going to add a course. So it pops over there. Now we're going to go back and add a couple more so that we can view the scheduler when we're done. So we're going to add, let's see, what's another good one for beginning students? Let's go into communications. This would be like your speech classes. So we're going to do introduction to communication theory. Why not? Upper level course, but that's okay. Add that course. It's going to pop up over there. I want to go into another when we get done with this where we have to pick not only a course, but maybe a lab to go with it. So we'll go in here. We're going to try maybe chemistry because most of the sciences have labs that have to be. Okay, there's biology. We'll do biology. See if Ryan can get into a basic biology. Principles of Biology 211. Okay, so we're going to go in and, oh, it's just going to do it for us, I guess. All right, then we're going to do one more. We'll go into geography. Course, sorry, this is Well, we're going to do undergraduate research for that because Ryan doesn't, those classes don't pop up for him because he's far along, but you would have more choices when you would go into these sections, but Ryan's going to be a junior, so he doesn't have as many choices. We're going to say we're done. Now we're going to go to view schedule, and it's going to pop up what our classes look like. Maybe.
Actually, it's going to be generate schedules.
Generate schedule first. Yep. Okay, now we're going to view it. There we go. So this gives us a week, what his week looks like. Normally, if we were in fall term, since these are only going to be 4-week courses for summer, they would all pop up in here and you could see, but this gives you an idea that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he has comm at 10 a.m. So he's going to go to speech class. And then right after that, he's got to get to anthropology on Mondays. And that's going to be a longer, maybe not a longer class, but it's only putting it in at once a week for now. But if you go into that and do the process that I just did and then push view schedule, this is all going to pop up. And if you put in your sleep schedule, your work schedule, and all of that, it's going to tell you where you have conflicts. So this is a really great way to see what your week and days look like. And it's very, very helpful. Okay, so if you, let's say you're into fall term, you've been to your first week of classes and you decide that you want to get rid of chemistry and add an English class because you're science heavy or your schedule just isn't quite working out. So you would go into this add and drop classes section right here, which is still in your ONID under the student tab. So add and drop. And you'll be in fall term, so I'm just going to stay in fall term because that's where your first term that you're going to be going to for most of you. Summer's basically over. So here's all of the classes for fall term. And we decide that we want to drop a class. So it's very simple. You just go in and you drop and delete and then click it. But I'm not going to do that because Ryan doesn't want to drop his classes. But if indeed you need to drop a class, this is how simple it is. And then let's say you need to add another class because if you drop a class and you're not up to 12 credits, then you're not a full student. So we're just going to pretend that Ryan he has 13 right now, but he doesn't have enough credits. So he would go into this area right down here to add classes worksheet. And if you know the CRN of your class already, you can put it in here and it will automatically do it. But if you need to, again, search for a class, you go to class search. It's kind of like the other drop downs, but a little bit different. So we don't want to do chemistry. So we pretend we just dropped it. And then we're going to go in and do an English class. So we're going to pick English here because that's what we want to take now. We're going to go course search. So this is going to pop up a bunch of English classes. So we're going to just do this intro to fiction. And this is going to give us even the section. So now you can see which section would possibly fit into your schedule when you're going in to add a class. So Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Now that's not going to work because we know we have communications class. So we're going to pick Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5:20. And then we're going to say register. Or you could add it to your worksheet, look at it, make sure it's what you wanted, and then register. But most likely if you're adding and dropping classes at this point, you know exactly what you want. So that's how that works. And we're going to talk about the dates and all of that in a minute. At what time frame do you need to have your classes added and dropped?
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things to keep in mind is that as a student, when you register for classes, you have to understand that if you are not doing well in a class or you are concerned about your likelihood of passing the course, and if that's going to affect your GPA or your ability to sustain scholarships or financial aid, or your eligibility for a master's program after your undergrad, whatever it may be, if you're really concerned about how things are going, you might want to act fast, especially during the first couple of weeks of school. And so some of those important dates that you want to keep in mind are the dates for being able to drop a course with 100% of tuition refund. So on this page that I'm showing you right now, it's an academic calendar for the university. So this happens to be Oregon State's calendar, but every university and college has their own version of this. And so you'll see that this calendar shows you when the term starts and ends. when there's priority registration, when that is. So that just actually passed for this upcoming fall, and when classes begin. But then you'll also notice that there's a date on there that says drop a course with 100% tuition refund. I believe that's the second week of school. Yeah, that looks like it's by the Friday of the second week of that term. And then if you don't do that and you keep taking the course, but then further along you decide this isn't the right class for me, or I really don't want to run the risk of failing this class and having that F on my report card, but you still want to be able to get at least partial refund. There's a 50% tuition refund that you could still get if you were to withdraw from the course by October 8th. And I think there's one more date
Yes.
so you want to keep in mind on there. You can still withdraw from the course without a refund, and that would be November 13th. And that's getting pretty close to the end of the term. But what that would do is help you avoid getting that poor grade on your record. That can be pretty important if you're trying to maintain a certain GPA, whether it be for scholarships, financial aid, or admission into a later program. So just keep that in mind. There was one other thing.
The changing of the grades.
Yeah, that's so one of the things you'll want to keep an eye on too is if you're pretty confident that you'll pass the class, but you might not pass with an A or B, you could consider taking the class for a pass or fail. And what that does is if you get the pass, you'll still gain the credits for the course, and that'll go on your record as having completed that requirement, but it won't be logged as a 4-credit course, which would impact your GPA. So just keep that in mind. That's something that I would recommend more for elective courses. If you're taking the like courses that satisfy any prerequisites for other courses, then I would not advise you to take a pass or fail course. That really falls more under for exploratory or elective courses that could really help save your GPA.
Just to remind people that if you're in the degree partnership program, or if you're dual enrolled at another university, so at Oregon State, they call it the degree partnership program. At other universities, they call it the dual enrolled program. And what that means is that you enroll in the community college and the university at the same time. And the universities have these agreements with certain community colleges to work together so that everything is transferable between each school. So let's say you're enrolled at Oregon State and also Lynn-Benton Community College at the same time. What happens is you are able to see an advisor with both schools. You're able to take community college classes, so many of them up until the point where you have to get into your major degree classes, and then you'll have to completely go over to Oregon State and take your classes. But it's a great way to help save money, start out with some smaller classes, kind of get your feet wet. So we encourage a lot of students to start out there, especially for the money piece. So anyway, if you are a DPP or a dual enrolled student, one of the things that you're going to want to decide is how many credits or how many classes you're going to take at each school. Now, there are some scholarship and financial aid barriers around here. So that's one thing that you really need to pay attention to if you are dual enrolled, that it might mean if you have a scholarship at Oregon State, you're required to be a full-time student there. That means you have to take a minimum of 12 credits, but that means you could take at least 1 or 2 more classes at the community college at the lower cost. But it could go vice versa too. You might get a scholarship at Lynn-Benton Community College and they want you to be a full-time student. So you might be able to take 12 credits at Lynn-Benton and maybe 1 or 2 classes that go towards your degree from Oregon State. You are able to take all of your classes at a community college, usually for up to 12 terms before you have to take a class at the university that you're enrolled in. But those numbers could vary too, so you need to be sure to check on that. Another great way to use the DPP program and the dual enrolled program is when you're getting close to becoming completely in your degree, but you're not quite done with your community college classes, it's really nice to be able to take a combo at both places. So anyway, again, you can meet with both of your advisors. You need to make sure that all of your credits from your community college are transferable to the degree that you're choosing with the university that you're at. And in a minute, I'm going to pull up the articulation tables and show you how to do that. So really what you need to do when you're trying to figure out your schedule before you register is meet with the advisors from both schools, come up with a plan that's good for you, what works best money-wise and for your financial aid and scholarships and all of that. So right now what I'm going to do is show you articulation tables because we do like to encourage students and remind students that you are fully responsible for the classes that you take. Even though you see an advisor and they are helping you, in the end, you're still the one that is responsible for, okay, now I can't find it, for picking the classes that you need to be in. So here's a great way to make sure that your courses that you're taking at your community college are transferring over to the university the correct way. And of course, this is again for Oregon State University, but your other institutions should have these available as well. So if we're talking about transferring credits from Lynn-Benton Community College, we go here, click on all OSU articulations, and they're going to tell us what Lynn-Benton's classes will transfer over into Oregon State, which ones will, which ones won't, and how they do it. So I'm going to give you an example first off of, let's do, and maybe Jose can help me a little bit again, because I think the LTT means that it's just going to go as an elective, right? It's not going to go to a specific class.
It'll come in as a lower division transfer credit. And so,
but not necessarily specific towards a degree, a class in their degree.
No, typically it won't unless it has a designated course number that's not LDT.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's not worth anything because it'll still show up on your transcript. It might just end up falling into that electives category.
Electives category, right? And what happens to a lot of community college students and why we really encourage you to be aware of this is that you end up with way more electives than you need when you get to the university. So we really like to encourage our community college students to be very aware of that. And that's why we teach you how to read these articulation tables. Go ahead.
Yeah, it can be super, super valuable to be dual enrolled and take classes at a community college because one, it's going to save you money along the way. And then two, it might provide more flexibility if you can't find that course at OSU that works for your schedule. Or if you're thinking about taking it online while you're, at home over the summer, or even during the school year, if it's something that's more flexible for your schedule. There's a lot of really good benefits to taking the classes through the dual enrollment program at a community college. But the one thing you have to keep in mind is you have to be very intentional and have a plan for what courses specifically you're going to take at the community college and what purpose they're going to fill at OSU. So are they going to go towards your degree? Are they going to go towards your electives? Are they going to comply with maybe a prerequisite that you're trying to get to continue, whether it be your bac core or your major, your minor, or if you're trying to achieve an associates of transfer, you can even do that as a dual enrolled student. You can work on your associates of transfer, which would take care of the bac core requirement, and then you wouldn't have to worry about OSU specific bac core requirements.
So just for an example, if you're a business student and you're going to Lynn-Benton Community College, the BAs start with the business classes. So if you signed up for BA 101A at Lynn-Benton, because this is the column for Lynn-Benton right here, and you wanted to know what it would count towards at Oregon State, it doesn't have a specific class that it takes the place of. It is going to be a lower division transfer course, and that's it. And it's going to count as a business foundation. And you will need a couple of electives for business classes. But again, like we're saying, you don't want to do too many of these that just have an LTD on them. So it'd be a lot better if you come in and are much more specific about what courses you take at Lynn Benton that you know are going to transfer over as another course number for Oregon State. So let's say we need Principles of Accounting. We take BA 211 at Lynn Benton, Principles of Accounting, Financial, and we come over to see what it is at Oregon State. It's 211 at Oregon State as well, and it's Financial Accounting.
Yeah, so that's something that you should really keep an eye on. Sometimes they'll have the same course numbers. So like BA 211 at Lynn Benton is also BA 211 at OSU. That's not always the case. It could be BA 211 at Lynn Benton, and maybe at OSU that could end up looking as BA 222 or something like that.
Really quick here, like if you take business law at Lynn Benton, it's 226, and you're like, cool, so I can get my business law class. It will still count at Oregon State, but it's going to be BA 230, and it's going to count as business law 1.
They're called something differently, but they'll meet the same requirement. Yeah, so it looks like Lynn Benton and OSU are aligned pretty well. COM 111 is a really common course that's required for students. Same. And so, yeah, it's public speaking on both sides. Some places it's called something else, but yeah. Right.
But when you get into 112, which is another one that's usually required often, it's Intro to Persuasion at Lynn Benton, and it's Argument and Critical Discourse, and it's COM 114 at OSU. So it's just some of those things that are really important to kind of keep in mind and pay attention to.
Yeah, another thing to really keep in mind there is when you're taking classes at a community college, but you're planning to take those to a university, make sure you hold on to your class syllabi, because those can come in really handy if for some reason you have to challenge a decision by the university to not accept or reject any incoming credits from the community college. If you ever go into your degrees or your student history and see, oh, I'm missing a certain credit, but I'm pretty sure I took that at the community college. And then you go back and check and wonder, oh, I wonder why that's not fitting that requirement. It seems like what I took before is exactly what they're asking for. If you bring that syllabus and challenge it and talk to your advisor, there's a good chance that they might waive it and approve whatever you took at the community college. You just have to demonstrate that it's actually the content that they're making sure that you took. I can say that from experience. I had to do that while I was in undergrad and in college, and I took a class from Chemeketa Community College and went to Western, and it was supposed to fulfill one of my writing requirements, and Western was saying, no, it's just an elective. And I said, I specifically took it to meet that requirement, and they told me it would. And so then I showed them the syllabus, and yep, they said it met their requirements because it covered the content that they expected. So, but the good thing was I had that syllabus. Had I not had it, I might have had to retake that class and pay for that again at the university. Yeah.
All right, so that's an articulation table, and it goes clear through. I mean, it's just forever and a million years long. They got history, horticulture. I mean, it just keeps going. And you can find all the courses at Lynn Benton and how they transfer over to Oregon State. And the cool thing is if you're not at Lynn Benton and Oregon State, it's, let's see if I can get it to go back. Yeah, there's all these articulation tables between even Hawaii. I mean, if you want to go to school in Hawaii at community college, that doesn't sound too bad to me about now. They still have an articulation table and agreements with all of these colleges listed here. So they've been through the course schedules through these colleges, and then they've chosen what those classes can transfer over to at Oregon State. So even if you're transferring from University of Oregon, you can see what classes from University of Oregon are going to transfer over to OSU. Because sometimes we get students that transfer from other universities and not just community colleges. So that's just something to keep in mind.
So going hand in hand with the degree articulation tables or course articulation tables, there's this really nifty tool called Find Your Major. And if you're just wondering, oh, I don't know what classes I should be taking at the community college to transfer, or even just at the university itself, I want to know what classes I should be taking so that I get closer and closer to finishing my degree. Well, OSU and most colleges have pretty useful pages on their website that will help you do that. And here is what OSU's looks like. They've broken it down by major or by degree. And you'll see that there's a really long list of useful resources. At Oregon State University, each college does their own. So don't expect them all to look the same. You're going to find that they use different formats or styles for their to show how they display their information. But I'm going to show you the College of Forestry. When you click on details, it'll take you to a page that will just give you a lot of really useful information. But one thing I'm going to advise you to look for is the degree requirements. And I'm actually having a hard time finding that. Like I said, not all the pages look the same. So you might have to navigate around. You'll notice they have a suggested four-year plan. This doesn't mean that this should be your plan. It doesn't have to look exactly like this for you, especially if you're coming from a community college or you're going to be dual enrolled. It might not look exactly the same as this, but you'll notice that these are the classes that you would eventually have to complete to get the degree. So you can start looking, for example, Math 111. Do I have that covered? Yes or no? Do I want to take that in the fall, the winter, the spring? Communications 111 also. And so you can look at this list and from there start to pull which ones you're going to want to take. And keep in mind, some of those courses are only offered during certain parts of the year. So don't expect that every single course is going to be available all year long. Some of those you'll have to keep an eye on and strategically make sure that you take them on at the time that they're offered so that you don't have to wait a full year before they're offered again. So those that are only offered during select parts of the year, you want to prioritize, but then the other ones, you'll have more flexibility so you can move them around your plan for each year. When you start your college plan, it's really good to look ahead and kind of try to map these out, but don't be super rigid or strict with yourself. If you can't take Math 111, the term you wanted, you'll be able to take that eventually, unless it's a pre-requirement. If you, in order to get to a certain class, have to take that class first, then you might want to take it sooner rather than later so that you don't have to postpone the other classes you're going to be required to take.
Yeah.
I hope
So
that makes
most
sense.
likely, yeah. I think because like most likely they're going to have a 111 and 112 before they can take 241 on that particular.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just
So
as an
if there's
example, yeah.
if there's a series of courses, then you'll want to make sure you get some of those earlier ones done. Here we go. Required courses. It was actually in the top 10.
Courses. Yeah, that's different than the four-year plan.
Yeah, and so I actually prefer this because
Me too.
To me, it's like a little checklist that I can just run through and check off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
these
mean, the
are
four-year
actually,
plan's not a bad thing to kind of map out, but
Right.
it's definitely not, like you said, you can't stay rigid to it.
No, because you can plan for that, but it doesn't always work out that way. If you can't get into a certain class, you're going to have to wait to take it a different term. So this one actually looks a little different. And like I said, it's more like a checklist. So it'll show you the classes you're required to take, but it also shows you the classes that are like the prerequisites. So on one side, you see the title of a class you need to take, but then you also see the pre-requirements. And so for financial accounting, BA 211, you actually need to have Math 111, 241, and 251 done before you can get into that class with the C- or above.
And that's where it shows them that, where it shows that little C- afterwards. Yep.
Yep, right
C-
there.
means you have to have a C- or better in those classes to be able to be led into the BA 211.
Yeah, and that seems to be the standard for prereqs. Some higher prereqs will say just a flat C, no C-.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. That's why it's actually pretty important. If you don't feel confident about being able to pass the class and you're about 3 weeks in, then you might want to look at potentially dropping or postponing the course.
Or getting a bunch of tutoring help. That's also an option.
Or really, really working hard to raise that grade before the end of the
which
term.
is, another option.
Yeah, I wouldn't encourage people to drop just because they're struggling, but
Right.
you gotta know yourself and be realistic with yourself of what you can do. So that's that. Some of these also offer transfer guides. So if you're actually coming directly from a community college or you're looking to do the dual enrollment, those can become pretty useful. I'm going to look at the agricultural sciences as an example here. and I'm going to pick on Chemeketa Community College. So let's say we're looking at agricultural, food and business management. So here's a really nice, actually I hadn't seen this one before, but this is a really nice version because it'll tell you exactly what the requirements are that you can take at Chemeketa Community College and what they're going to be called at OSU. So
Cool.
some of them are not available, and that's really nice to know straight off the bat because you don't have to then search for something that's not going to be offered at Chemeketa. But OSU will require you to take Economics 201, and turns out Chemeketa offers it. And then there's this other set of classes. So these types of guides are really, really useful because they give you all the information you'll need in a really nice visual format. So if you're at a community college or you're dual enrolled, check these out because they're gonna come in real handy when you register for classes.
Very nice.
And again, that site is called Find Your Major for OSU.
It's really cool.
It might be called something else at other colleges or universities, but now you know, for OSU, it's called Find Your Major.
Awesome. Well, I think honestly that pretty much covers everything on registering for classes. Hopefully that's some really helpful information. And again, we really want to reiterate, don't be afraid to get a hold of your advisors, your open campus coordinators if you need help. Also, upperclassmen, if you have friends that you know that go to OSU, they are very helpful, especially they also know a lot about different professors and what they require. And part of learning to be in college is learning what professors want, and different professors want different things. And some students do better with different professors in their teaching styles. So that's really great information that you can gather from upperclassmen or friends or family that you have that have been to OSU recently. So anyway, that's about the only other tip or trick I could think of about registering.
And the last thing is, if you just feel stuck or don't know what to do, don't hesitate to contact your advisor, because at the end of the day, that's what they're there for, is to help you, especially that first term or that second term where you're just learning the ropes and just trying to figure out what to take, how to register, how to lift your holds, all of that. When in doubt, just contact your advisor.
Yep, perfect.
Ask for help.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. Always ask for help.